Sad blonde boys have never been this dreamy. This is The Seventh Seal.
Lingonberry jam is
Oh my god,
nice.
So good.
I kind of want to go to IKEA right now. And
That's
just
like
have a thing of
that's like my
balls with
favorite part of that. That lingonberry jam makes the meal.
Oh, it
Without
does.
it, I don't like it that much.
Let me ask you this question.
Yeah.
When you're taking a bite, do you get the jam, mashed potatoes, gravy, and
Come
meatball
on.
all in one bite?
Don't insult me. Obviously.
It's the way to do it.
Yeah.
It's the way to do it.
It's like Thanksgiving-y almost.
It kind of is Thanksgiving-y.
It's so good.
It really is.
Oh, now I want to go.
Hey, everybody.
Hi.
Welcome to Seen and Heard. This is the podcast where Jackie and I, Greg, two Hollywood assistants, go through the Sight and Sound Top 100 Greatest Films of All Time list. Today, we are at the bottom of the list because we do ping pong from the top and bottom. We do one from the top, one from the bottom, working our way towards the center of the list, like a Tootsie Pop. This week, is this number 93?
This is the last number 93 on the list.
So this is another one of the tied number 93s that we've been doing from the bottom
Last
of the list.
one!
But it's our last one.
And just to blow your minds even more, next movie on the bottom of the list will be number 90. For some reason, there is no 91 and 92. So it jumps from 93 to 90, even though there's like 7 93s.
I still don't know why they couldn't have like broken these ties.
That is another question,
make it cleaner.
and I truly don't understand why there's no 91 and 92.
Yeah.
If it's no idea.
Hey, listen, I don't know either.
Did we say the name of I don't think you said the name of the movie.
Oh, well, we just happen to be doing a little movie this week.
You may have heard of it.
Ingmar Bergman's The Seventh Seal.
You know, I read something really funny, like that Seventh Seal was like synonymous for foreign film for like a really long time.
Sure,
in the
yeah.
US, because it was like the most famous foreign film.
This was part of the big art house boom of the 1950s. With stuff like this and Kurosawa and all that stuff was all coming to America at once. And this is, in some ways, the ultimate art house import. Yeah, it's kind of like, I mean, this is like when people think of art house, they think of Max von Sydow playing chess with death in this movie.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
What a classic.
What a classic. But
what have you been watching besides The Seventh Seal?
what have I been watching? Okay, so I saw Richard Linklater's new movie, Apollo 10 and a Half. I didn't even know he had a new movie out. And thanks to a friend of the podcast, Becca, who posted about it on Instagram. And I was like, whoa, what? This is a movie. He has a new movie out, and it's an animated movie. And so I watched it. It was last Saturday, and I kind of woke up in like a little bit of a funk for some reason. And I put it on, and it just like made me so happy. It's essentially it's semi-autobiographical, an account of Linklater's childhood growing up in Houston in the 60s, like right around the time of the moon landing. And it's this really warm, exuberant, nostalgic movie. And I'm such a nostalgic guy. Like, if I have a weakness, it's that I'm like overly nostalgic and I'm always reminiscing. And it's just all over this movie. And it also kind of ties into a project that I'm working on, a script that I'm working on that's semi based on my childhood, that also kind of has like a 60s angle to it, a late 60s, early 70s thing. So I found a lot. Is it before sunset? No. Or sunrise, but it's what it is. And I think basically there's kind of a fantasy element to this with the main kid kind of like becoming a part of this like secret Apollo mission. That stuff kind of goes on a little too long, but most of the movie is just these little details that Linklater's recalling from his childhood about his siblings, his parents, what movies were coming out at the time, what shows were on TV, what he was listening to on the radio, what their house was like, what their neighborhood was like. And I live for that stuff. And I love this era, this like late 60s stuff. So I ate it up. I really, really loved it. And I actually watched it twice this weekend because then I also watched it with my fiance because she didn't watch it with me the first time. really like it. It's a warm blanket of a movie. I really enjoyed it. Put a huge smile on my face. Big recommends for Apollo 10.5.
Yeah, it's so weird. Like, why haven't we heard of this?
It's a Netflix movie, and I feel like they're just not putting in the advertising for it.
It's weird though. Like nothing. I haven't seen anything on Twitter, for example.
No, it's
like,
silent. That's why, because I like Linklater a lot, and I was surprised that he had a new movie that was streaming that I literally didn't know about. Like, I didn't hear that he was doing it.
Yeah,
it was just there. It just appeared. I think it was kind of his COVID project. Like, editing it was his COVID project, but it couldn't have been too cheap to make because, like, Jack Black narrates it. It's like, if you've seen A Scanner Darkly or you've seen what's the other one he did? Waking Life.
Yes.
It's like that.
Yeah.
Where it's like rotoscope, so it's like people like they shot it and then it's like animated on top of that. But they must have paid a decent amount for all the music and stuff that's in the movie because it's like a lot of big songs.
Yeah.
Really highly recommend. Great.
Aww.
Really liked it a lot. And then I saw Come On.
You did?
I did. And you know what? It's fucking great.
Really?
It's fucking great. And it's just a really earnest, just like wears its heart on its sleeve. Like, so much so to where, like, I could see if you were like really cynical and cold, you'd be like, what is this movie like trying to do all this like inspirational shit? It's really sweet. It's a really kind, warm, both this and
warm
Apollo.
Blanket of a movie.
It's another warm blanket. It really is a warm blanket. And it's great. It's great. Joaquin is great. The kid, I'm forgetting his name right now, is great. And Gabby Hoffman is also great. It's a very, very good movie. It's a very optimistic movie about our future. It's very much a movie of this moment. In the movie, Joaquin's kind of traveling around. He's kind of like an Ira Glass figure where he's like interviewing people for this radio program of like kids, like what do they see for their future? And they actually, I think, went around and interviewed like real kids, and the recordings play throughout the movie.
Cute.
But it's him connecting with It's him connecting with his nephew, who he doesn't really know. And yeah, it's in L.A., it's in New York, it's in New Orleans. They kind of travel around. Really beautiful movie. Highly recommend.
Aww.
The fact that it had 0 Oscar attention is like guaranteed. Like it's better than most of the Oscar noms.
Probably.
The movies that won awards this year. Probably. And it's just sad. It's sad. And I feel like because it's slow and it's in black and white, that a lot of people are going to ignore it because I don't think it really got much attention. But
question for you: how long is it?
It's under 2 hours.
Yeah. See, I've been trying to figure out the enigma of like run times because I don't know. People always like say it's such a bad thing that when movies are like 2 hours, you know, you can't 2.5 hours, you can't expect it to like do well or people to like hold their attention. And then like
Everything Everywhere is like 2.5 hours.
That and just like every single Marvel movie.
3 hours.
But people don't care about that. Like, that's why I hate when people use that argument. I hate it so much when they say like it's too long.
Believe me, I'm right there with you. Because those same people that say that watch, like, they binge TV. They binge like 2 seasons of TV in a day.
And don't get me wrong. I love when a movie, like today's movie, can be an hour-and-a-half masterpiece. I think that is so cool. But yeah, I hate that argument.
Agreed. So what have you been watching this week?
I watched Eyes Wide Shut like
did you?
2 days ago.
Really?
Yeah.
What'd you think?
I liked it.
Yeah?
Yeah. Except I don't know if it's just me, but I watched it on Hulu and it looked like crap.
A lot of streaming services suck.
Like, it looked like it was recorded on a camcorder. I literally looked it up and said, what was Eyes Wide Shut shot on? Because that's
Film.
how wrong it looked to me. I swear.
Oh, no. You gotta see it again.
It was really weird. I was like, what the fuck is this?
I'm curious now. I want to pull up Hulu and see what it looks like on there.
Do it. But I liked the movie. I liked it. It's like, I don't know. I don't really know if I'm ready to talk about it, honestly.
Oh, yeah. There's a lot to digest.
But,
right?
I mean, yeah, there is. I liked it. I thought it was really interesting. It's literally like After Hours, but serious.
Yeah, kind of. Sure.
Isn't it? It
Yeah, kind
so
of.
reminded me of that.
It's another nocturnal odyssey.
In New York.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really don't know if I'm ready to talk about it. I don't have anything to say. Is that weird? I feel like I'm like dumbstruck.
No, I guess
What
not.
do you say about it? What do you love about it so much, Greg?
First of all, I love the fact that it is a nocturnal odyssey.
Yes.
I love the fact that the whole thing, and again, it's spoilers if you have not seen this 20-plus-year-old movie.
Well, that was me 2 days ago.
But I love the fact that the whole thing is set off by this conversation that this husband and wife have about.
Brilliant. That monologue is brilliant.
It's amazing.
Incredible.
It's amazing.
Yes.
I feel like that scene goes on for like 15 minutes or something, right?
So good. Nicole Kidman in that movie is phenomenal.
Yeah. Oh,
like she's so good. Even the part where she's like at the party and she's kind of drunk, like hilarious. I was cracking up.
Yeah.
She's great in it. Great in it.
It's great casting with both of them because at the time they were a real life couple. They were this big Hollywood couple, and Kubrick sweeps them up and puts them. And you see, because we buy them immediately as a couple because they're a couple in real life at the time, right?
Yeah.
And he uses that to his advantage.
Yeah.
And I think that does a lot of the heavy lifting of like believing them and establishing a background for them.
And also, but this is another thing that was going through my mind. It was like, okay, like, are we all just going to ignore the elephant in the room that this is kind of Scientology and like Tom Cruise and...
Yeah, sure.
Right?
Sure. The
like,
secret organization.
Was that intentional? When did he join Scientology?
Oh, yeah, he was already a Scientologist.
Already in it, and he did this movie?
Yeah, probably for at least 10 years at that point, yeah.
That was shocking to me. That was like my initial thought. I was like, is this a coincidence?
Well, it's Kubrick. When someone like Kubrick knocks, you answer and you do whatever he says, I guess.
I know, and look at that. They were in Kubrick's last movie. Like,
yep.
But now they're divorced.
I think the movie actually played a part in their separation.
Honestly, good.
It was one of the longest movie shoots ever. It's in the Guinness World Book of Records. It was like a 1.5-year shoot. And they didn't know when it was going to end. That's just the way that Kubrick worked.
I know. Oh my God. But I also watched 101 Nights at the movie.
Oh, the Varda movie.
Yes.
Yeah. Did you like it?
Yeah, it was delightful, obviously. But yeah, so I literally watched it to escape Joan of Arc. I told you this the other day. Yeah. I had watched 2 Joan of Arcs last week, and I was like, okay, you know what? I'm going to watch something lovely and fun and light and Varda and movies. And then our friend Sandrine Bonner shows up, and then what does she do? Transform into Joan of Arc.
Yeah.
It was just like, I cannot be free. Everything is melting together. I don't know. Is this like the multiverses coming together? For me, just everything is everywhere. All at once. It is for me.
We went there.
No, I'm just saying it's very weird. Okay, like last week we had a medieval religious movie.
Yep. This week.
Now we're at the bottom of the list, and yet again, a medieval religious movie with burning at the stake.
Yep.
Like, why can't I not escape? Everything is... I think I'm in some sort of like...
loop.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, really. Anyway, but the movie was great. It was so fun.
It is. It's... Yeah.
Yeah, it's fun.
It's a nice, like, ode to cinema.
Very much so.
Even if it's not, like, the ultimate ode, it's a nice little quiet ode.
It's really sweet. Yeah. I really liked it.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Well, should we get into the big one?
This is a huge one.
It's a huge one. I think we've said that a good number of times before, and it's been valid all those times, but it's valid again this time, too. Yeah. It's a big one.
Let's do it. Released in 1957, The Seventh Seal is directed by Ingmar Bergman based on a play by Bergman himself called Wood Painting. It's the story of a medieval knight, Antonius Block, who returns from the Crusades to find his homeland plague-ridden and just dismally in the midst of the Dark Ages. He's approached by a personified version of death, and instead of submitting himself without a fight, he challenges death to a chess match to determine his fate. They play in intervals, and in between these intervals, Block and his squire, Jons, come across a variety of characters, the most memorable being a troubadour couple, Mia and Jof. Eventually, in the middle of a round, Antonius distracts Death in order to spare Mia and Yoff. He loses the match, and the rest of the group make it to Antonius's castle, where they think they are safe from the plague, but eventually Death comes knocking to deliver their destinies. And the film ends with the famous Dance of Death.
It is the OG.
It is the OG Dance of Death. Antonius Block is played by the great Max von Sydow.
Who? Never heard of him.
That blonde guy.
I've never heard of him. He must be some kind of actor.
He's Draco Malfoy's dad.
Oh, that guy. Yeah. Okay, I see it.
Jons is played by Gunnar Bjornstrand. Bent Ekerot is Death. Niels Pope is Yoff. And also the great Bibi Andersson is Mia. And I just want to say everyone in this movie is great, obviously. But I feel like Max von Sydow and Bibi Andersson are like Bergman staples.
Oh, yeah. They were in his stable of actors.
They were, yeah. Yeah, and this film was basically always beloved. Like, I don't think it was ever like, no, we don't like that movie that much. It won the jury prize at Cannes in 1957.
Although it did not win the Palme d'Or.
Yeah. Good point.
A William Wyler movie won it instead. I don't even remember which one it was.
Yeah, and then apparently, like, it was kind of just available at you had to track this movie down in the US until kind of the late 70s and the video revolution. You had to track it down to like repertory theaters, but everyone loved it.
Yeah,
like it was never
films, right? This was kind of they got their start with.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And funnily enough, I didn't know this, but only 3 scenes from this movie are shot on location. Everything else is shot in a studio. And the 3 scenes are the opening on the beach, the famous when Antonius first sees Death and they start their chess match. The hillside where they have the milk and strawberries, and the final scene, the Dance of Death, when Mia and Yoff are watching the Dance of Death. The rest is in a studio in Stockholm.
Wait. On a soundstage?
Yeah.
Holy shit.
Isn't it crazy?
Wait, really?
When you say soundstage, I don't know like exactly if it was a soundstage. I just know that it was in a studio, which is
indoors, though.
That's what I mean. Yes, and they created this forest environment.
Holy shit!
Yeah,
I didn't know that.
Isn't that crazy?
It is crazy. It's really convincing.
Yeah,
it reminds me of. Have you seen Ridley Scott's film Legend with Tom Cruise and Mia Sara and Tim Curry? Have you seen that? It's kind of a fantasy movie, but it was mid 80s, and it has this great, huge indoor forest sets that was kind of the last of its kind because it was a couple years before CG, but it's just this beautiful, lush soundstage forest.
Yeah. And in the play, so the play that it's based off called Wood Painting, the squire is actually the main character.
Oh.
Which is a fun bit of trivia.
I didn't know that either.
But he changed it around for better, honestly.
Yes.
Because it was, and that's what's kind of confusing, because he was very much inspired by this painting, this real painting of Death playing chess with a knight by Albertus Pictor. He was a medieval church painter. And the painter in the movie is kind of, it's supposed to be him, kind of. And Bergman said that there's this great little clip of him just talking about the movie on Criterion, and he said that of all his movies, he's like, I don't know how many movies I've made, 60, 70. He's like, I've made 10 good films, and Seventh Seal is one of them. And that's so cute.
He's so modest.
Yeah, like, what a psycho, honestly.
Yeah. Like, I don't love every Bergman movie, but Jesus, to only say he has 10.
Yeah, honestly. And yes, this is number 93 on the list. There are 3 other Bergman movies. This is the lowest one on the list. And it goes in this order from top to bottom: Persona, Wild Strawberries, and Fanny and Alexander, and then Seventh Seal.
Modern.
They're good movies. Yeah.
I personally don't love Wild Strawberries the way I love those other movies.
Yeah.
I still like it, but it's not like quite on the same level.
I really want to rewatch it. I feel like when I rewatch it, I'm going to love it more.
I thought that was going to happen too with me, but it didn't.
It didn't?
Fanny and Alexander is probably one of my all-time favorite. That's like a top 3 for me.
It is, beautiful.
And
I love it. That's my favorite.
Version. Yeah, same. Not theatrical, sorry, television version.
Then that's not a movie.
It is, though.
I know. I struggle with that too because I love Scenes from a Marriage. I love it. I think it's genius. It's this show with Jessica Chastain and Oscar Isaac.
Yeah. I saw that. Loved it. It was so original. Really loved it.
But I do love Scenes from a Marriage. And yeah, I haven't seen the theatrical version. I've only seen...
I refuse.
Yeah, because it's so rich and yeah. I don't know. I just realized that I didn't write initial thoughts for this because I don't know. I didn't write them.
That's what you're just going to have to go off the cuff. I never write my initial thoughts. You want me to go?
Yeah, go first.
Okay. So pretty much, as soon as I started getting into quote unquote big boy movies or adult movies, Bergman is one of the first stops he make because he's synonymous with art films, right? Mm-hmm. He's synonymous with international cinema, with intellectual sort of challenging movies. Although I think that reputation is like better. It's better assigned to someone else. But so that being said, I probably first saw The Seventh Seal year or two after high school, probably. And I don't think it was my first. I think wait, was it my first? You know what? Actually, maybe it was the first.
I think it was my first as well.
Yeah, because I don't know what I would have seen before this. Everything, yeah, maybe this was my first Bergman. So at the time, I remember this had a reputation. Obviously, its reputation is, this image of a knight playing chess with death. And you're like, well, it's going to be a really heady, tough movie, a tough watch. And the thing that struck me when I was like 20 or whatever, when I saw it, was how just entertaining it was and how involving it was. And it was only like 90 minutes and how much I engaged with it. Mm-hmm. And while I didn't get everything in that viewing, I was impressed with it. Mm-hmm. And in the fact that it operated as like a film also for entertainment. I think it's a masterpiece. It's hot take here. It's a masterpiece. There's a certain special brand of movies that are masterpieces that are like 90 minutes long, where somehow in your head, right, when you recall the movie, you're like, oh no, that's like a 3-hour movie, or that's like a 2.5 hour movie. It's like, no, it's 90 minutes. Yeah. Another one that way, which we're coming up to on the list soon, is Herzog's Aguirre, The Wrath of God. Kind of a pocket epic, right? So I love the fact that this movie's 90 minutes. I love how much it's able to get into those 90 minutes. And look, Max von Sydow is a god. And
truly,
not to say this isn't my favorite Max von Sydow film or performance, because he was just in so many amazing. I love him in The Virgin Spring. Have you seen that one?
I haven't, and I learned about it today. I actually didn't know about it.
It's intense.
It looks crazy because it's also medieval, right? And it was just a few years after Seventh Seal.
It was, yeah.
And it's medieval.
Yeah, and that one's pretty like harrowing. But yeah, he also love him in The Exorcist. I mean, I love him in everything I've seen. I love him in Jan Troell's movies, The Emigrants and the New Land. Him and Liv Ullmann are in those. So good. Could not recommend those higher enough. You'll love them. I know I was talking to you about them the other day.
Kind of.
They're companion movies. So I know I'm kind of rambling with this, but yeah, look, this is a masterpiece. Like, it's everything you'd want in a film. And the fact that Bergman is able to do this tonal balance to where, like, this is funny. There's a lot of funny, lighter moments in this movie, but it's also really heavy. And there's also some really horrific stuff that happens. It's set, in the Middle Ages during the plague, the Black Plague. Mm-hmm. And people are dying and people are getting burned at the stake. And yet there's still time for jokes.
So many jokes.
And you know what? Here's the genius of this movie. The jokes, the humor is never out of place. I think it's never out of place. It flows really well. You're never like, oh, that, like, I got tonal whiplash from that. It all fits together in a really coherent way.
You know why? And I'm going to talk about this later. Right. Because he has these great turns. Like, the turns they floor you. It's like, I'm thinking when, like, I don't want to get into this now, though.
Okay, we'll put a pin in it, but I want to hear your initial thoughts.
My initial thoughts is just like, when I first saw this movie, I was like, yes, he gets me. Like, he gets me. And that's what I love about Bergman. actually, now that I think about it, I think Wild Strawberries was before this, but
Okay.
I love this much more than Wild Strawberries.
Yeah, same.
Like, he just gets me. And I think he just gets so many people.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if you've ever asked yourself any of these questions, you get this movie.
Yeah.
And I don't know, it's like, and I love another thing I love about him is just like everything
Everywhere all at once.
Yes. He puts himself, every character in all his movies, not just this movie, is like an extension of himself. And that makes everything feel so personal because it is. Like, imagine making that many like personal movies. And I think it's wonderful. So if you guys don't know, Bergman was raised by a really strict and stern, his dad was a minister, right? Mm-hmm. And he grew up in this very religious household, and this theme of like
basically
looking
the
for
priest
God.
from Fanny and Alexander.
Yes, exactly. This theme of like looking for God and the silence of God, like that was huge for him. And he has it, it's so funny. This movie isn't part of his Silence trilogy. He has a trilogy called the Silence trilogy about the silence of God. Mm-hmm. And it's 3 movies. It's The Silence, Winter Light, and Through a Glass Darkly.
Oh, I love I love Winter Light.
I haven't seen it.
It's really good. Yeah.
And so when I watched it this time, I'm like, why isn't this in that trilogy?
I mean, a lot of his movies kind of deal with that.
Exactly. But yeah, it might as well have been, honestly. But I love it. I think it's great. Unlike you, though, like, I the Smith and his wife, I think that they are kind of unnecessary. I think that their humor's a little too much. That is my only complaint. That is the only reason I docked half a star. I know, because the first time I watched it, I put 5. Now we're not doing this every episode. This is not happening. This is not going to become a thing. I will just say
us talking about our letterbox.
Yes. But this time I did dock a star because I don't know. It's just something about it goes on too long, I think. When they're in the woods and there's the other actor and he's chasing him, and it just
like it ties in though, right? I don't know, because
it
leads
infidelity,
to the demise. It leads to the demise of the other actor. The guy who climbs up the tree.
I guess, but it's just like they talk about infidelity so long, and then they're in the pub, and Jons is like telling him, like, oh, like women can't live with them, can't without them, and it like goes on, and they riff off each other, and like might as well just kill them instead. Like it was just like,
well, if anything, that goes to show what a piece of shit Jons is.
Jons is, obviously a piece of shit, but.
Well, it's funny, right?
Other than that, though, but other than that, I think that the balance of humor is great. And I think it has these wonderful turns that are really epic and just dramatic, but they work for me. Mm-hmm. Anyway, I cut you off. Go ahead.
No. I was going to say, too, what's so great about when Bergman is at his best is that unlike his peers, like someone like Tarkovsky, and I know him and Tarkovsky were really big fans of each other. Bergman has this really nice quote about Tarkovsky when he saw his first Tarkovsky movie. I'm not sure if it was Ivan's Childhood or if it was something a little later, if it was Andrei Rublev, but he says, when I first saw Tarkovsky's movies, it felt like someone had given me a key to a room that I'd never had access to before.
Wow.
And for me, and I think Tarkovsky would have said the same thing, Bergman is kind of the precursor to Tarkovsky. And Tarkovsky took everything Bergman did and kind of like amplified it. So, I don't think Tarkovsky has any 90-minute movies. Maybe his first one, like I said, Ivan's Childhood. But most of them are longer. But the genius of Bergman, like Tarkovsky is a filmmaker that only some people are going to be into because it's slow cinema. It's very meditative. The genius of Bergman is the fact that he's able to give you that same experience, but in these 90-minute runtimes and in this very accessible format. Yeah. And the way that he doesn't use that, like, here's the thing. It's not all static imagery. Like if you look at Tarkovsky, it's very static, which is part of his whole thing. I mean, the camera moves too, but Bergman, the camera's moving, it's tilting, it's panning, like it's keeping you involved. Yeah. It's for better or worse, right? Like I'm not necessarily saying one is better than the other, but Bergman is like the people's director.
He is, and he came from theater. He has a theater background.
He came from theater.
And I think that's part of it, obviously, like theater is mass entertainment.
Yeah. And Bergman knows that, and Bergman therefore packages all this like really intellectual and emotional stuff in these like accessible packages.
Yeah.
And I think that's the genius of Bergman.
I agree. Also, some of the best dialogue ever written.
Yeah.
Ever. In this movie and all his movies. But
Yeah.
that's a big part of it, too.
It is.
And it's like, yeah, I mean, I feel like, though, you don't really like really written movies. And I do.
It depends. If it's like a screwball comedy from the 40s, then yes. But if it's like...
Okay, but all his movies are like really written. Like
Bergman? Well,
yeah?
Well, see, they're written in the right way. My whole thing is I don't like when you can feel like that it's in... That the person writing is just jerking off. Aaron Sorkin.
I get it.
That's the kind of writing I don't like. It's not that I don't like written movies.
But you don't.
Well,
But here's the thing about how this one is written. It's like, how does he use dialogue to ask the deepest questions anyone can ever ask about life?
Okay.
And then also make jokes and make it work.
Exactly. You know, it's a beautiful, and it's not my favorite sound, so I'll say it right now. One of my favorite lines is Death says, "I know nothing."
Oh, yeah.
I mean, come on.
Okay, one of my favorite lines, like just to start with, it's when they're choosing which colors they're going to be in chess.
Yeah.
And he goes, "You picked black, appropriate, don't
Yeah.
you think?" Like, it's just things like that. The
Exactly.
second I heard that line, I'm like, oh shit, here we go. Another beautiful thing I love about this movie is there's no backstory. Like, it just starts... Death shows up, he's in it. He's in the game. No explaining of, oh, I'm a Swedish knight from this and this house, and I came home from the
Right.
Crusades. Like, nothing.
Well, no, you do get the crusade part. Like, you know that's
it's
what
like
they were
one
doing.
line. Yeah, but it's not... There's no explanation.
Yeah.
It just starts. It's boom, boom,
Exactly.
boom. Like,
Those
and
are my
that's-
favorite kinds of
yeah,
movies, I think.
Yeah.
Because it gives you a chance to settle into the characters. You're not told immediately who they are, where they come from. They do
And it
say the
works so
crusades
well.
kind of early on, I
They
think.
say it when they go to the church.
Yeah.
Which is the scene after that.
But again,
Actually, there's
it's-
2 scenes after that.
Yeah.
But
yeah,
they're walking, because they're walking there on their horses, and then they see that dead guy.
Yeah.
Who, for some reason, I don't know how, they
Is it a
didn't
guy?
know he
I
was
don't know.
dead.
Yeah.
But
And
yeah,
then
that's another thing I really love.
Upon discovering that the person is dead, the squire has a very slow
Yes.
back away.
Can I also just say, I never noticed that scar on the squire's head.
Oh,
I
yeah,
love
it's
it.
gnarly.
I love it.
I wonder, do you know if the actor had that in real life, or is that a character thing?
I don't think so.
Okay. Because, yeah, that
Well,
perfectly
you've
does
seen-
say
Well, he's
the
in
Crusades.
The Silence. He's the priest in The Silence. And
Oh, that is him.
he doesn't have
Don't
it.
recall if he had the scar in that or not. Maybe not.
But yeah, I mean, like, I don't even know what to talk about first here, because I
Well-
love this movie, and I feel like it has so much to it, but I also feel like it is so accessible. And okay, go ahead. No, do you have something you want to start with?
No.
I just think that these themes, like, they're there from the beginning. It's very clear. It's like, and Bergman even said it himself. This came out from my fear of death. Like, this was born from this fear.
Yeah.
So it's there. It's there from the beginning. It's like fear of death, the certainty,
Well,
the
yeah.
finality of it, the silence of God. And of course, all of these, like, these 2 major themes just like play with each other, because he wants to be certain that there is a God because he's scared of dying.
Yeah.
Right? And it's just like, it's all there. And then it's in the big things. It's in the setup, the
Yeah.
plague, and they're in the Middle
Plague.
Ages, and death is all the Black Death. It's literally the name of the plague.
It's people struggling with their faith in a time of darkness.
Yes, and they're coming from crusades, which
Yeah.
is religious, and
Yeah.
those flagellants, those people that like whip themselves.
Yeah.
Like, those people are just scared of death and scared of nothingness, and they want to please God so they can go to heaven. And so, like, it's there in the big setups of everything, but then it's also in every single little detail, and you never forget it. And it's even in like the jokes and stuff. And I think that's what's so cool about this movie, is just like, you're surrounded. You are completely surrounded at all times, but it doesn't feel like they're driving it home too much. It doesn't feel like he's like
No.
pushing it down your throat. And that's so cool.
Yeah.
Like,
Well,
yeah.
This is, and you can say this about so many of Bergman's great films. This is like a Bergman greatest hits in so many ways,
yeah.
because you get all of his themes sort of that he was always grappling with in one movie. Infidelity even too, right? With
Yeah,
your
but
favorite couple.
I mean, yeah. I don't really know about that one.
It was never so. I mean, his ultimate. I think why Fanny and Alexander is my favorite is because
that's ultimate.
It is
that's
this ultimate summation.
Yes.
But here's the thing: you watch this movie, it is so clear that this is a Bergman film.
Yeah.
And I love that about it. I love that everything he's interested in is in this movie.
Yes.
And from the theatrical troupe, this performance thing,
exactly, actors, and he cracks so many jokes about actors.
Yeah. The absence of God, the silence of God, struggling with faith, all that kind of stuff is like the humor, it's all there. And it's like, this is Bergman, and he's wearing it on his sleeve.
Yeah, I agree.
It's beautiful.
I agree.
It's fucking beautiful.
But do you get what I mean? Where it's like it's in little details,
it's in
even
all
like
the details.
like for example, when Yoff and Mia are like singing their song. They're still like they're doing a joke song, but it's about death. Like
it's about
death.
Yeah.
And then even that moment of peace where they're eating strawberries, that skull mask that the other actor Jonas was gonna use, it's just sitting on a pole right there, watching them. Like it's there.
Yeah.
And then
they can never get away from death.
There's another great line I love when he's like, how do you plan to beat death? And I think this is when death is like trying to trick him. He's like, a combination of bishop and knight. And it's like, that's it. That's him. Like, it's like religion and he's a knight and it's just so great.
I know,
like,
isn't it?
Yes.
Surprise, Seven Seal's a great movie.
Yeah, but then it's all these it doesn't feel forced because it's all these very natural Middle Ages stuff, like a witch and a plague and these religious fanatics. Like, it's just great.
It's so good.
Yeah.
It's so good.
It really is. It really is. This is the kind of movie I want everyone to watch. And it is so accessible. I think it's so accessible. Okay,
especially because you can sell someone on the fact that Max von Sydow's in it, and you're like, "Hey, remember that guy from Minority Report? He's in this
Game of Thrones.
Game of Thrones,
yeah.
Exactly.
Let's talk about Yoff and Mia because they are chef's kiss. I love them so much. They're the heart of this movie.
They are the heart of the movie.
I love them.
Antonius is too.
Yes, but of course. I love him too. Obviously.
What I love about them, and you might feel the same way, I got total Richard Basehart vibes from Yoff in this as the fool in Fellini's La Strada. Totally the same. Yeah, very similar characters.
It's dimples.
Except, again, spoilers if you haven't seen La Strada. That ends in a much more tragic way.
Oh, yeah.
Him and Mia have like the true happy ending of the movie. They get away.
So here's the thing, and it's such a cliche, but it truly is like love is the answer, right? It's like,
although Antonius returns to his wife at the end.
Are they really that in love, though? Like, Mia and Yoff...
Who are you to say they're not?
Okay, Mia and Yoff are different.
How do you know?
Because they just are.
How do you know they weren't like that before Antonius left?
Well, he hasn't seen her in 10 years, and Bergman is a practical man. 10 years, a lot can happen. You're not as close.
The love is gone?
Yeah. He's practical.
It's like the song from the Muppet. You haven't seen Muppet Christmas Carol. When love is gone. When love is gone.
That was a good Kermit. But it is kind of a cliche, but it's still so sweet, right? And it's funny because Yoff is the only one. This whole movie is about the silence of God. Where are you? I'm looking for you. I'm trying to find you. I'm trying to hear you. Yoff has that vision of the Virgin Mary with baby Jesus. He's the only one who seems to actually hear God, and he's the only one who's like happy and jolly and in love. It's because he's in love. And what else? Like, okay, and Antonius saves them, right? And that's how he saves himself and his soul, and he gives his life meaning. It really is like love is the answer.
Yeah.
He saves them. And I think that goes across a lot of people's heads. That's what I was finding on Letterboxd. People were like, I don't get it. Like, what was the point? But no, like, he asked for this reprieve so he could do something good with his life because he feels really pointless. And then he saves this little family from death.
You know what sucks is that Antonius's wife had to die.
I know, poor lady.
Hanging out in this castle by herself, waiting for him to come back from the Crusades. The second he comes back with all of his friends, they die.
Yeah. And Antonius even says, he's like, I'm so scared of death, but when I'm sitting here eating strawberries with you guys, like, it seems so silly. Like, I'm not even thinking about it. Yeah. It is. It's like, the message of this movie is love.
That's a beautiful
scene.
Very
sweet.
A beautiful scene.
That's one of my favorites. When he sees Mia playing with the baby, Mikhail, and he's just watching them.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
It is.
Beautiful. And what else? Yeah, I think it's really about like not trying to save your own skin and your own soul, but saving others. I mean, that's what this movie is.
Yeah,
It's so sweet.
It is.
I love Mia and Yup. They're honestly couple goals. They truly are.
Oh, totally.
I love them.
Yeah.
Bibi Anderson
They're so
in this
tender.
movie, yes, gives me like Jessica Chastain in Tree of Life vibes. Like that
Oh,
very
yeah.
like warm, sweet,
Motherly.
beautiful mother who's
Yeah.
kind to everyone. And yeah,
Yeah, I like that.
hard eyes. I love her. Yeah.
This is, God. I mean, everything you're saying is so spot on that I feel the exact same way. It's just hard to not talk about this movie without just completely gushing.
I know. Can we talk about, because that Madonna scene, that scene where he sees
In the
Virgin
beginning?
Mary, yes.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
And it's not corny in the slightest. Because he uses these a few times in the movie, these like zooms or push-ins. You know, my curse
This is pre-zoom.
that's what I was thinking.
Mm-hmm.
That I knew that. But like I do have this curse of like I can never tell if something is a zoom or a push-in.
Really?
And you heard it here. I'll admit it. I'm not ashamed. I can't fucking tell. Maybe it's because I didn't go to film school. Maybe I should have gone. But
No, you don't need to.
I can never tell. But it's so great. He hears this music and it pushes in on him and he turns around. And then she's shot like in a far distant field in wide. And I think it's because she's shot in wide that it's not corny.
Mm-hmm.
And it's very objective. It's like he's actually seeing her.
Yeah.
And it's so interesting that he can see her and Antonius is like looking and calling and he can't see anything. And
Yeah, you almost wonder if Yoff's visions are bullshit until the end.
they can't be. Yeah, because he sees death. He sees
He sees
Antonius
him playing with death.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it's so interesting.
Yeah.
But I love the way that scene is shot.
I
actually love it. It makes me emotional.
I love his exchange with Mia afterwards, where he tells her he wakes
her
up to tell her about the vision.
And she's like, "Ugh, you and your visions.
She's like, is it like that time you painted the wagon wheels red?
It's so funny. He's
see
like,
the
well,
devil?
how else was I going to get you to believe me on the real ones?
Yeah.
It's so good.
The boy who
so,
cried wolf.
so good.
Yeah.
And then there's another great push-in. It's when they're singing their song, they're doing their act, right?
Yeah.
And then that parade of people who like whip themselves is coming in, and their song is kind of fading out because
That's a Disneyland parade, right?
yeah, exactly. Because that chant, again, we're back to like the Gregorian chants, are overpowering them, and it pushes in on their faces, and they go silent. It's chilling.
It is.
It's those push-ins. I'm telling you.
Yeah.
They're
He
so
knows-
effective.
He knows how to use the
And
camera.
then of course at the end with the silent girl, you know, the servant girl that Jons like saves but then assaults and says, "You own me."
the one
I
he
own
tells,
you.
"I could have raped you."
Yeah, the one that says Jons. First of all, Jons is a piece of shit.
Let's talk about him really quick.
He sucks, and I think that's another reason why I don't like them. Like not that I don't like the movie. The reason that I knocked down half a star because she's like cuddling up to him the whole time, and the guy literally said like, "I could have raped you." So that was annoying.
Here's the thing, though. This is the Middle Ages. It's fucking barbaric.
Listen, I know.
And I feel like without someone like that, because he's supposed to be one of the good guys, right? He's one of the, in quotes, good guys. And the fact that he's a piece of shit, and he saves her from being raped, but then he abuses her and tells her, "I could have raped you," and basically enslaves her.
Oh, and he says, "I'm sick of that kind of love," implying that he is a rapist.
Yes, exactly. So... yeah, I mean, this is the Middle Ages. I feel like you have to have some of that, because if you gloss over that stuff...
I totally understand that, but she didn't have to be like snuggling up to him the whole time.
Yeah, I hear you.
But
Stockholm
she
syndrome.
also... yes, Stockholm, how appropriate.
Yeah.
She also has a great zoom at the end when she's... First of all,
Push.
I didn't realize... Yes. I didn't realize that she's mute the whole movie until this time around. Is that weird? She's mute the whole time until the end when death has finally come. They're in Antonius's castle and she says it is finished and she looks happy. And again, it pushes in on her. She looks pleased and at peace. And it's like, what is that saying about silence? This whole time, Antonius is like so distraught over silence and silence and silence. Here's this silent woman. And then at the end, she has this like glow about her that she's about to die. Like,
Yeah.
and I never thought about that until this time around. I think it's trying to say that like silence is overrated. I don't think you should take it as seriously as you do.
Right.
right?
I like that. Yeah.
Like anyway. So the woman who plays her, her name is Gunnel Lindblom. She's also in she's in, what is it called? Virgin Spring. She's in that. She's also kind of a Bergman regular. She's in Scenes from a Marriage. She plays oh my God, what's the man's name in that movie?
Erland Josephson, the actor.
No, what's his name what's his character's name?
I forget the character.
Oh my God. No. It's on the tip of my tongue.
It is the great Erland Josephson.
I love him. Give me 1 sec. Isn't it like Johan?
That sounds right.
But she's his colleague that he eventually like hooks up with. Do you remember?
Yeah,
she's
course.
such a boss in it.
Yeah.
Anyway.
That's right. I didn't know that was her.
Yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, great stuff.
Can we just say that Antonius Block sounds like a cheese?
Yes, it does. Oh, and then another like multiverse thing that we're talking about. God. Just things that we can't escape is like literally, I think in the last episode you mentioned Dance Macabre, right?
Yeah.
Which is Dance of Death.
Yep.
Which is one of the biggest illusions in this movie.
Mm-hmm.
It's all coming together.
It is all coming together.
We can't escape.
We cannot. This is so tied into the Passion of Joan of Arc.
It's weird.
Yeah.
Ping pong, man.
Ping pong.
Yeah. What about The Witch?
The Witch. That's a pretty... It's a pretty
drab.
horrific scene.
Oh my God. Every one of her scenes is really, really horrific.
Yeah. The first time we meet her, she's tied up outside this house, and
she's in stockades.
They're literally throwing like blood and like bile on her.
Yes.
And
she's a kid.
Yeah.
I think she's only supposed to be like
she's a
15.
Minor. Yeah.
But yeah, it's just I love when he gets really worked up at the end when they finally see her. She's about to be burned at the stake.
Yeah.
They run into her in the woods. And Antonius goes up to her and he says like, he doesn't care. He doesn't care that she was like in cahoots with the devil. I say that in quotes. He just wants answers. Like he just wants to know like what is out there. I want to talk to someone, something, anything.
Yeah.
And I love when he gets worked up and he says like, did you hear him say that? Did he say that? Like he gets really mad and like,
this is the prequel to The Exorcist.
Yeah. And then like there's this beautiful moment. It's when she's like really about to be burned and they kind of realize like, okay, like this is just a girl with schizophrenia. Like it's she's not. Yeah.
And then the squire gives her some herbs so that it'll be less painful.
Yeah. And what do they say? They're like, oh, she just realized she just made a discovery. Emptiness. And and it's just wow.
I know. Oh my God. I actually felt something for the squire in that scene because he's like more moved than Antonius. He wants to stop the burning from happening, even though he's a piece of shit.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. Because I think they realize, like I said, I think they realize that, like, no, I think she's just sick. Like,
yeah. That's a beautiful scene when the two of them are like over her as she's like about to be raised onto the thing. Yeah, it's shit.
Wild.
Yeah.
And then there's the great shot of like Yof and Mia and they like grab Mikhail the baby and they're like snuggly.
Yeah.
And then the following scene right after, I love them. Can you tell? There's the beautiful scene where she's like singing to the baby under the tree and Yof just comes and like puts his hand on her shoulder and they're just this like, what a contrast to everything else in this movie. It's just this perfect couple.
Yeah. I love how much talk there is about like ghosts and goblins in the woods and stuff. And part of that is just like Middle Ages superstitions and stuff like that. But I just love that all of Bergman's stuff always feels a little heightened, a little mysterious, a little magical, you know?
Yeah.
And sometimes he goes all the way with it, like in Fanny and Alexander.
Well, Fanny and Alexander's like
mystical stuff happens.
Yes.
Yeah, but I feel like there's always an element in his stuff of the mystical, you know?
Yes.
Even if it's like, I mean, he's playing chess with death in this movie. Yeah. And Yolf is having visions and stuff. So it's always there, I feel like. Yeah.
It is always there.
Yeah.
I love like, and it's just, this is one of my things about like period pieces is when, like for me, a period piece succeeds or doesn't succeed totally based on like just the nature of the characters and how they're acting with each other and how they're like talking to each other. And I love that one of the first things you see is just the squire, Jons, just on the beach, like spread out completely, like sleeping.
Naked, dick out.
No, he's not naked.
Just kidding.
He's just spread out, like just sleeping, no fucks given. Yeah. And that's just a great way to open the movie. And it's funny. And those faces he makes at him, at Antonius all the time.
I think for me, it's that, but it's also like how lived in everything feels.
Yeah,
and I think this movie definitely passes that test too. Whereas like, I mean, the Middle Ages were grungy, right? And I've certainly seen, I don't know if you've seen that movie Hard to Be a God, where it's just like, it's sort of this weird sci-fi medieval movie, but like it's so filthy. Everyone's covered in mud and there's shit everywhere. This isn't that, but it's still believable. Yes. It's like it's just grimy enough.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. You know what? Okay, I did talk shit about the smith, the blacksmith, and his wife and the whole infidelity thing, but I do think it's fucking hilarious when the wife is like apologizing to him and Jons is like commenting. He's like, the tears will start now. Next she'll offer his favorite meal. Yeah. It's so funny.
It's funny. I didn't have a problem with that storyline at all.
I do. I don't like how they join their group. Like, who are these people? Why are you here? Why are you coming to his castle? What if they have the plague?
Well, they were. Oh, yeah. Like, I'm surprised they still came after they reunited, because I thought the whole reason that he was going with them is because his wife left him and he was now aimless.
It just didn't make sense. I don't know. It's just something about that throws me off. That part is hilarious, but really, I don't.
Can we talk about the scene where I don't know the character's name, but it's the piece of shit guy who starts to beat up Yof in the bar.
Yes.
And later he comes to like their campsite and he's dying of the plague. Oh
my God. And he says, I'm scared. I don't want to die. Mm-hmm. Crazy.
They're keeping their distance and he's kind of just like flailing around on the ground.
Crazy.
Yeah, Jesus. It's effective though.
Yeah, but then like you see the smith and he's just there and it's like, why?
Because he joined. I don't know.
Why did he join? Like, who are you? What are you doing here? No one invited you. I don't know.
Well, they couldn't just leave him in the middle of the woods.
I do think that scene is like really hard to watch. It's
great.
Yeah, it is.
It's great.
It is.
I think Bergman is kind of responsible for all subsequent movie genres. The zombie movie, right? Can you see some of that in there?
I guess.
The plague stuff and I don't know.
I mean, even those guys in the parade are like very like...
Yeah, that's an unsettling scene.
So unsettling. The first time I saw it, I was like, whoa.
That's no Pixar play parade, that's for sure.
No.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean...
I feel like, should we get into sight and sound?
Yeah.
Yeah? What was your favorite sight from The Seventh Seal?
How hard is that, right? So for my favorite sight, because this is like truly one of my favorite scenes from like anything. Not scene, just like character interaction.
Okay.
It's when like, it's towards the beginning of the movie. Yof is just like juggling. And then Mia's like next to him and she goes like, don't move, don't speak, I love you.
Oh, yeah.
It's so sweet. And he like just turns to her and she's like all like, and they're just, it's just a beautiful scene. Like just the tour of them. She's watching him juggle and they're just being really cute.
Yeah, it's so sweet.
It's just too sweet. I couldn't resist. Like there's plenty of great.
Do you ship them?
I mean, I think I've made it pretty obvious.
I was just trying to throw in some modern vernacular.
Good one. But yeah, runner up for me is like just the shot of the bowl of strawberries.
Mm-hmm.
It's just great.
Yeah. Okay, my favorite sight.
Are yours very dark?
Unfortunately, it's a little darker than yours, but it's like the inverse of the scene you just showed me.
Okay.
Obviously, there's so many great images from this movie. Mine is when they're forcing Yof to imitate a bear and he's dancing on the table. I know, it's so sad, but everything is you get everything from that scene. Like you feel his embarrassment, you feel his fear. He's on the table being forced to pretend to be this bear. Like dance like a bear.
Yeah.
And all the people on the table are slamming their cups down in rhythm, and he's like doing this back and forth thing.
Yeah.
It's really, I don't know why I don't know what that says
really
about me.
sad. No, that's another great turn. It's when he's like in the bar and he's just joking around about actors and how horrible they are. He goes like, "Oh, if she likes actors, like she has horrible taste. Leave her."
And it turns.
It gets silent.
When that
The bar
shithead
gets
comes over.
it's the knife between his finger, and then it gets silent, and he looks at them like genuinely shocked, like, "What the fuck are you doing?"
Yeah, he's like,
"You want to hurt me? Why?"
Yeah,
it's
he
so
literally
sweet.
he asked them that.
Yeah. He's like, "Why?" Like,
I know. He's like, he reminds me of my cat Margot. He's just a very innocent, pure soul.
He really is. What's your favorite sound?
So I have 3 here. I'm going to say...
Let me ask you this. No, actually, go ahead. I'm not going to ask.
Here's my favorite one. It's the last line of the movie.
Hell yeah.
Is that yours?
No.
Do you remember what the last line was?
I'm about to find out.
So they are... Yolf has just seen the Dance of Death.
Oh, and Mia says something like, "You and your visions," right?
Exactly. You and your visions.
Yes.
Du med dina drömmar och syner.
It's
so good.
Bergman throws it away.
It is.
And it's like, we're going to end on that note. I love that about it.
I love it too.
What about you?
So, what I was going to ask you is it dialogue? Because it's like, I've noticed for foreign films, it's hard because, but the what I'm saying is the dialogue in this movie is so freaking good that you can't not pick dialogue.
Mm-hmm.
Mine is the whole confession to death. But if I had to pick, it's like these 3 lines that happen right back to back to each other. He goes like, he's talking about God here, and he goes, "Why must he hide in a mist of vague promises and unseen miracles? What will become of us who want to believe but cannot? Why can I not kill God within me?"
It's really
play
good.
it for you. It's one of the best like monologues I think ever.
Varför ska han gömma sig I en dunstkrets av halvuttalade löften och osedda under? Hur ska vi kunna tro på de troende när vi inte tror själva? Vad blir det av oss som vill tro men inte kan? Och vad blir det av dem som varken vill eller kan tro? Varför kan jag inte döda Gud inom mig?
I know I went with like a really serious sound, but a light. We did reverse.
We did. Yeah.
So I chose a really light
image,
sight, and a very heavy sound, and you chose a very heavy image and a very light sound.
Yeah.
Look at that.
Look at that. Wow.
What a movie, huh?
What a picture.
What a picture. What a picture. It's so funny. I use that all the time. I say that all the time.
Picture?
No, what a picture.
Oh, yeah. Picture.
That, and also from Minnie and Moskowitz, you know, when they see when she sees a movie with her best friend and it ends and they just kind of look at each other and go, "Did you like the picture?" I say that all the time. Every time a movie ends.
Yeah, my grandma calls movies pictures.
Yeah.
It's like, that sounds cooler.
So much cooler. Those were sight and sounds. What does
Pauline Kael say?
How'd you know I was going to ask that?
I don't know. I just had a hunch. Okay. Surprise, surprise. Pauline loves the movie.
Okay, you scared me.
So she said Ingmar Bergman's medieval morality play about man in search of meaning of life is set in 14th century Sweden, but it's a magically powerful film. The story seems to be playing itself out in a medieval present. The knight, a sane modern man, asking to believe despite all the evidence of his senses, is childlike compared with his carnal atheist squire. The images and the omens are medieval, but the modern erotic and psychological insights add tension.
That's the second time she mentioned erotic
and Joan of Arc.
Joan of Arc, like what?
And in some cases, as in the burning of the child witch, excruciation.
Yeah.
The actors' faces, the aura of magic, the ambiguities, and the riddle at the heart of the film all contribute to its stature.
It's so good. She nailed it. She nailed it.
Good. I'm really glad that Pauline liked this one.
Me too.
Because I don't know if I could deal if Pauline was talking trash on Seventh Seal.
We would have gotten rid of the segment if she did. Let's do Letterboxd.
Okay. I feel like there are so many, we've read ones like this for previous movies, but it never ceases to be funny. Half a star. How boring was everyone in the 1950s? I'm struggling to think how anyone would consider this entertainment. Don't think I've ever been this bored in my life.
This one is 4.5 stars. Death is a pretty personable chap. Would DM.
Half a star. Monty Python and the Holy Grail, but black and white and not funny.
It's so funny.
It is funny. That person does not know what they're talking about.
This is another high star one. 5 stars. Weird movie. Takes place near the sea, but there wasn't a single seal.
I saw that one. Half a star. Nothing happened except for some dumbasses milling around, rambling about God and death or whatever.
Oh my God.
Proto mumblecore.
What? That's good. That's good. Okay. 2.5 stars. I went into this film expecting a dark, suspenseful, slow burn about a man trying to beat death in a game of chess, but instead got a strangely light-hearted, boring film about God knows what.
God knows what.
I loved Persona and hoped I would love Bergman's other masterpiece, but instead I just wanted it to end after 30 minutes.
Huh. See, that's interesting. I think if you come into Bergman through something like Persona, maybe something like this does seem a little old-fashioned.
Yeah.
Because Persona is so cutting edge.
Oh my God, yeah.
So I could, you know what I would recommend to that person? Give it a couple years and come back. Mm-hmm. 1 star. This person has it out. Okay? Movie fucking blew. If you rated this higher than a 2, you are a fucking puppet. How could anyone enjoy watching this? Can't believe the average for this is a 4.3. Couldn't wait for it to end.
Oh my God.
And then at the end he says, fuck off.
No.
He ends it with fuck off. And then he says a bunch of shit in the middle that I'm not even going to read.
Wow.
Yep.
3.5 stars. I love this one. It's so bad. 3.5 stars. The poster looks like he's going to tell his mom that he shit himself. Look at the poster.
Yeah, they're talking about the Criterion cover, which is just Max von Sydow's
Looking
face.
down.
Kind of looking down in shadow. This is my favorite one. Ready? 1 star. 1 star.
Yeah.
Foreign, old, and religious.
Oh my gosh. They're not wrong. 2 stars. Why do we love reading bad reviews for this one? I think because we're both so confident in how good it is and how universally loved it is. 2 stars. Overabundance of heavy-handed symbolism, disappointing lack of adorable sea-dwelling mammals, and or British Nigerian pop singers. I don't get the British Nigerian pop singers.
Seal. Every rose has a thorn. Come on.
I got the sea-dwelling mammal. But...
Well, of course. I would hope you'd get that one.
Oh my gosh.
2 stars. The guy really couldn't learn how to juggle before playing the role of a skilled juggler.
He juggles fine.
Yeah, he juggles fine. Maybe not as good as me, but it's decent.
Don't you hate on Yof? Don't you?
Oh, I love Yof.
Not you, this person.
Oh, yeah. Well, they did.
That's pretty much it, I think.
Like
So what is your last word on Seven Seal?
You want to hear the final word right here, right now? It's an all-timer.
Yeah.
Look, I mean, this isn't my favorite Bergman movie, but again, we're talking about a titan. There's probably 3 or... Well, I don't want to say 3 or 4. There's a couple Bergman movies I still like more than Seven Seal, but I think Seven Seal is a masterpiece. Like, and again, is it even fair to compare this to Fanny and Alexander, which is this like 6-hour epic? Like, no, not really. I still like that more though. I mean, but yeah, it's a masterpiece. It's a fucking masterpiece. I
think so too.
This is as good as movies get. And
I think so too.
Yeah. What do you think?
I agree.
You agree?
I agree. 1 word. I want to leave it with like 1 word, but I'm trying to think of what that word is.
Is this your favorite Bergman?
No. I know we like just praised it so much, but we just both love him so
He's
much.
Bergman.
I think, yeah.
How can you pick one? Well, I guess I don't know.
Love.
Here.
Peace and love.
This is what we're leaving it on. Ready? You say 1 word. I'll say 1 word.
Love.
Death.
That's good.
Think about that.
And it's both.
It's both.
Well, next week we have another all-time classic.
We do.
Just completely all-time.
Yeah, we're doing Fellini's 8.5. Otto e Mezzo.
Wow.
This
Show
is-
off much?
This is the first Fellini that we've covered so far. This will be the first one because I believe it's just this and La Dolce Vita that are on the list. Mm-hmm. So we're doing 8.5 first because it's higher up. It is number 10 on the Sight and Sound list.
Wow.
So join us next week because we're going to dive into Fellini's meta
I am so
autobiographical
excited.
phantasma
It is.
of a film.
It is.
You've seen it,
indeed.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah, we've both seen it. This is when I saw this like my junior year of high school, and I did not understand. I was like not ready to see
it's
it.
a hard movie because it's a hard movie. I think just in the way that it's shot, and I think also the thing that threw me off the most when I first saw it is just the fact that the sound isn't like it was
It's
not
an Italian movie, yeah.
Yeah,
That's
so
an
the
Italian
sound
thing.
was not synced like on.
Yeah, they did it afterwards.
Yeah, they did it after exactly.
Yeah.
So like that's what really.
Yeah, it kind of
Threw
adds
me
to it
off.
in this movie, I think.
Yeah, well, we'll talk about it next
Yeah,
week.
so come back and join us for Fellini's 8.5.
Wow. I can't believe it. Why are we doing ping pong?
Yeah,
Like 2 all-time masterpiece classics.
Yeah.
Laura Linney, shout out. How does that happen?
it happens.
It just does. It just does.
It just does.
There's a bubble around me. I'm telling you. There's something going on.
Come back next week. We're gonna have a good time. Have a great week, everybody.
Bye.
Bye. Seen and Heard is presented by the Arroyo Film Club. Produced by and starring Greg Kleinschmidt and Jacqueline Pistachian. Edited by Greg Kleinschmidt. Music by Andrew Cox. Special thanks to Catherine Ferenchak.